All right, so I want to start out with saying that my cards and my notes are a bit out of order, but I am more determined to get the podcast pushed out in a reasonable time than for it to be in order, which is kind of funny because well, you'll find out here in just a little bit, because I'm trying to make sure that I am open and transparent with you all, and that I watched a video from a guy, MrBeast. I watched a video of his that dropped just a few days ago, and it was his video where he scheduled it to be released 10 years from that day. It was about 4 days ago is when it posted. And it was funny because I've marathoned through a ton of his videos, and he has a mountain to say about creating videos and to encourage creators. And so to watch this video where he is hoping that it was actually after the interview that I had with Trenton Grayson, and then before this post, obviously, I'm not talking about the future. And he was just talking about how he hoped that he would have 1 million people following him, while right now he has somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 million people across all of his channels. And he hoped that he wasn't going to be dead. And he had some things that he said, and he was obviously just an awkward kid. And then fast forward 10 years, the reaction video is worth watching. But one of the things that I had been told several times by lots of creators was that it takes about 100 videos before you stop sucking and you start doing good stuff. I have been shooting videos off and on for several years now. During COVID is when I bought a camera, and I decided that I was going to try to get this thing figured out. And I was on and off and on and off. And then there were times when I realized it had been months since I posted a video. Now I'm on a pretty strict schedule where I post on Tuesday and Thursday. Actually, that's when I record, and I try to get those videos edited and shoved out as quickly as possible because it's important that I get the reps. So my notes are out of order, but it's more important that I get this video cranked out than it is that it be perfect. When you go to somebody's channel where you can click oldest videos, Alex Hormozi's oldest videos, I am so glad that he didn't delete those, because he does really great work now, and that he left those up, because his old videos, the information is super high quality, but his delivery, the camera angles, the thumbnails, like everything is horrendous. And I'm so glad that he left those up. It gave me a lot of hope, because I remember when I started a screen printing shop, how my designs were absolutely horrendous. The ways that I used to do different things across the board were horrendous. But the more you get to doing things, the more reps you put in, the more that you recognize patterns, the more that you stop sucking, the more that people will actually make comments to you, people that love you and care about you and want to help you are going to be of help and assistance to you. Grayson made a comment where some coaches were encouraging and some weren't. These are a couple of things that I want to pick up, because he was talking about coaches and how it affected the team. Now, having a great coach doesn't guarantee that you're going to win. Having an encouraging coach doesn't guarantee that you're going to win, because there's plenty that aren't encouraging yet wind up cranking out some really great teams. But there are the ones that I think that if you could pick, do I want to be the coach that is leading the team to great wins, or do I want to be the kind of coach that takes lives to having great wins? I would say that in the end, you want to have those lives. That's part of the reason why John Wooden is regarded like he is. He not only won a lot, but his players went on to not just have great careers, but they look back at him and credit them for the men that they became because of who he was. He instilled in them greatness. The third type of encouragement, which is, you know, when you give somebody a hug and you say, hey, everything's going to be okay. And I had kind of made light of, and the one where, you know, letting somebody be seen. I see the idea of, I felt seen as more common amongst women. I don't hear it very much at all with men. But I will say that for me, it's almost like the first signs of discouragement show up in my mind, and then they seem to expand and bleed and eventually wind up manifesting physically. I wind up physically having discouragement all over me. And by the time it gets there, it's going to take a little bit. But in that situation, I will say that a hug and being told that everything's going to be okay, that's when that happens. And I'm kind of starting to throw around the idea that maybe women, the first manifestation isn't in that the manifestations start a little quicker or earlier or something with their mind or their body. I mean, let's see. I think for me, one of the greatest things that makes me feel like I'm on the right track and I feel encouraged when I see the fruit of teaching and training in people's lives. I have taught both like directly into a camera, and I've taught classrooms. I've stood at the front of large groups of people, and then I've taught on video, like group coaching, and I really enjoy the interaction. The feedback loop is really short, and I find it very encouraging when I see the benefit of what I'm doing. So maybe winning is what I'm saying, is when you start to have wins, and maybe when the experiences that you've had start to help other people. Those are moments when I feel very encouraged. Those are questions for Toby, which is going to be awesome. He's going to be by tomorrow. We're going to talk, and he's already told me how long he can stay. So I can't wait to feel what that stress is like, because when him and I get into the vibe, into the groove, we can go 3 hours and then go out for dinner. And so I can't wait to see him. Yeah. Okay, so one of the things that I've also noticed is that God builds us through challenges. Challenge is another great way to encourage people. As weird as that sounds, hang with me. When I say that I believe in you and you can do this, right? That's a challenge. That when I say, you know, what would the best version of you look like? That is a challenge. And when I start talking like this to people, and I start saying it is almost a back end like way of saying I believe in you. I know that you can do this. When I challenge people to step up, I'm saying I believe that there's something better in you. There's something more in you. I think that you're selling yourself short. Is encouragement a skill? I say yes. I say that encouragement is a skill. I think that it's a gift that some people, they're just naturally optimistic. They're natural encouragers. They naturally challenge people's beliefs, because I think that that's a huge part of encouragement, is that a lot of people get discouraged because they're convinced of something negative. They're convinced of few options, and the encouraging person shows up and questions those and forces you to confront those things. And when you confront those things and you realize that they're not true, the limitations and the lack of options are not true, that is when you experience some encouragement. I believe that I believe that encouragement at its root, a lot of the ways that people get encouraged is by asking really great questions. Things like, is this true? Why do I believe this? Where does God fit into all of this? Just asking and pursuing, asking really great questions. I believe that cooking and music are things that sometimes people are naturally kind of made for. With training, they can improve. There's others of us that I'm not a good cook. I have really terrible instincts, but if I follow a recipe, I get the same result as the person that is intuitively good at knowing what things go together. They might be the ones that create the recipe, but if I follow the recipe, I'm going to get the same result that they have. I may not invent a really great recipe. I may never invent a really great recipe at all, but if I follow the recipe of the people that are really great cooks, I can develop and I will improve my skills of cooking. I will develop, but I may never be as good as them. And that's okay, because I'm leveling up. With respect to encouragement, same story. You may not naturally be an encourager. However, if you question when people say things that are negative, limiting, discouraging, if you start questioning those things, you can definitely help. And I'm going to put together some kind of a course. Yeah, I'm going to put together some kind of course on encouragement so that people can develop the basic skills of the frameworks that go into being encouraging, both to other people and to be able to say things to yourself to get yourself up when there's nobody around. It's easier, gosh, it's so much better when you've got somebody around you that's encouraging. When you have somebody else that's going through the same slog as you, it's so much better. But when they're not around, you need to get this stuff figured out for yourself, okay? So yeah, encouragement is a skill. And I will say that one other thing with respect to encouragement is that a lot of the time we make these mistakes that other people, that their lives are all together. I was talking to a guy a few weeks back, and we were just talking about his testimony and how he came from a drug-infested part of town, got involved in drugs and gang activity, and did a bunch of things that, that he told me, he goes, to this day, it still haunts me, right? Now, we don't know each other all that well. I could have just said, man, that sounds rough. But instead, I told him about some of the things that I grew up doing, right? I believe that if you're going to encourage people, you need to trade weapons. There's a passage in the Old Testament where a guy named Jonathan and a guy named David exchange weapons. And I do this with people that I know that it's hard. And when somebody shares something about themselves that's personal and that they're trying to get figured out, one of the things that I like to do is, if you're going to do that with me, I'm going to do something similar with you. I'm going to tell you about a time in my life that I think is similar to what you're dealing with. And so I was able to tell him about how there are all of these things that happened in my life growing up. you know, doing drugs, getting in trouble with the law, waking up in jail, covered with, I'm not sure whose blood this is, and those sorts of things. And I was saying, you know, when you go to church and you look around, everybody is dressed up, which bothers me. Everybody is looking their best, which is good. That's fine. But you assume that they have their lives all together. You don't know that that guy over there is filing bankruptcy. You don't know that that guy over there is fighting cancer, and he hasn't told anybody because he's an elder. And there's all of these people that they have these like secret lives, and so we assume that everybody else has it all together when they actually don't, and everybody is struggling. Now, one of the other ways to encourage people is when somebody says that they're struggling with something, if you can reach back and pull a story from your own life where you were getting your head handed to you, things were completely out of control, your health was in bad shape, and turned around, and it has a happy ending. If you're able to help people to feel like those are the sorts of things that help people to feel like there's hope. And I want to encourage you. I am definitely going to put this course together because there's so many people that the things that are intuitive to me aren't intuitive to other people. It wasn't actually until I started really doing this study that I realized the things that I was doing that were natural and intuitive that I never gave any thought to. And now that I'm doing this study, I'm breaking it down, and I'm like, this is completely stuff that's learnable and trainable. I can teach people how to be more encouraging and adapt and pick up some skills. And after they've been doing it for a while, it'll be mechanical, it could be clunky and feel horrible at first. But if you can push through, I'm encouraging you to pick up encouragement. Okay, now, 2 days, or tomorrow, Toby is coming in and we're going to talk about encouragement. And this is going to be a blast because this guy's going to be feeling a tremendous amount of stress because there's going to be so many things that he wants to say. And he already told me that he has a meeting at 11:30 and he's getting here at 9. And if you think that we can get stuff done in 2 hours, that's exhaustive. And believe me, both of us want to get an exhaustive work done. You're completely out of your head. So tune in. That's going to be a lot of fun. And one of the things that in 14 more weeks, we're going to be back here doing encouragement again. We're going to have worked our way through the entire created framework, and we're going to go back to the letter C for clarity, and then rhythm, and then back to encouragement. So 14 weeks from now, we will be at this point in the created framework. I will be reviewing everything that's in the comments. So if there's quotes that you want me to look at, if there are questions you want me to ask guests, if there's ideas that you want me to explore, put it in there. I may or may not be able to get to it, but I'm definitely going to be going through the comment sections to find out what ideas people have around these different topics, okay? I gotta go. I went a little bit longer than I wanted to, but hey, you know what? I am still figuring all of this stuff out, all right? I will see you later. Bye-bye.